Okay, so in today's topic, we'll be discussing about the data structure strings. String is a sequence of characters. So we know that we already have been seeing the concepts of strings from the first unit. So even the operations, okay, so in the university examination, if you get this question like operations on string, then there are three major operations that you can perform on the string. So this explanation you have to give it in the examination. So the first one is concatenation operation. I won't be going in deep into this concept because I already have discussed this topic many times in the first unit. Okay, so the concatenation operator is nothing but a plus operator, and we have seen various examples regarding it. And next one is repetition, which is also called as multiplication operation, and then slice operation, which is extracting the substring from a string. Okay, right. So these are various examples of the concatenation operator wherein I have taken two strings and by just using plus, I just have concatenated the string together. So I said S is equal to Sudha, S1 is equal to Sinu. When I concatenated, I just got Sinu and Sudha. Okay, and the next kind of example is where I just wanted to show you that you can also use this in place operator or this kind of compound assignment operator inside your concatenation. I can also say, I said message is equal to hello, and the second string, okay, I have read it from the user. Okay, so the first string is taken, it's uh, declared. Okay, so it is initialized, MSG is initialized, but the next string is I have read it from the user. So whatever user gives, I am taking it and I'm concatenating that to the message and by using the compound assignment operator. Okay, right. So this is a second example. Now coming to the third example. So I just wanted to show you that concatenation of a string with an integer is not possible. Okay, so you cannot say S is equal to 0 and then S1 is equal to 7, and you cannot concatenate because these types do not match. Okay, so one is string and the other is an integer. So what you'll get this type error. uh, Here, so don't neglect this name of the error over here, okay, because this is an interview questions. In Java, generally what happens is they'll give you a situation and they'll ask you to identify the error. Okay, so the name of the error that you get, so it is very important that you actually keep the name of the error in mind. Okay, so what is the error that you get? Like they may give you this program, and in the options, they may give you type error, they may give you index error and all that, and you have to choose one error which is related to this. Okay, so the name of the error is type error. Okay, so there are certain things that you need to learn. Don't think that concept, we already know this concept kada అని అనుకోకండి. There is there, every time we see the concept, there will be a new thing that we'll learn from it. Okay, so this is what is the type error. Okay, so wherein and can it is also mentioning, it's giving you a description for this type error. It is saying can only concatenate string to string. Okay, so you cannot take an integer. Okay, the next thing is like, in case if the situation is like this, you can actually explicitly typecast and actually concatenate. That is possible. So what I did, I have taken 7 as an integer, but later on what I did is by using str function, I have actually converted s1 to string and then I have concatenated. Then there is no issue over here. So I'll be getting cnu 7. Okay, so the next example is where so I have three different strings in the print statement, and these three different statements will be printed in three different lines. Okay, but if you want everything to be in one single line, write everything in the one print statement. Okay, so that's one remedy. Another remedy is that you can just use this end statement, and end statement can include a comma, it can include asterisk, it can include white spaces. So this will use like a separation. Okay, so uh, so hi, then there will be a space and the next print will be printed, and then there is a space associated after it, and then the next print statement will be executed. And you can observe that everything is in the single line. Okay, so you can actually use this end statement to actually format your print statements. Okay, Coming to the next operation of the string, like just using the multiplication. So I can say string multiplication asterisk into 3. So 3 times Python will be printed. So we already have seen this concept. And this is the slice of a string. Slicing is nothing but extracting the substring of a string by using the slice operator. The operator is a square brackets. Okay. So it will be having certain two values. Okay. So the index values need to be given in terms of a range separated by a column. Okay. And so the index of the characters in the string will start from 0 to n minus 1. Okay. Right. And so you can also extract the strings from the end of the string by using the negative index number. So we'll see certain examples on this. This example I already have discussed in the first unit. So I'm skipping this example. And this example, so this is accessing a string. Okay. So how do you access a string? So you can use the for loop to access a string. So I'm saying I in MSG, and I'm taking, this is the print statement. I'm saying MSG, and then I'm giving the index number because I want in the output, I want each and every character by the index number. So I'm just formatting my print statement in such a way that the output that I get will be in this format. Okay. So else simply I can say print I. Okay. So I can simply say print I. If I just say print I, what will happen is it will just print P, Y, T, H, O, N in different new lines for me. But here I just wanted it to be in this format. So I want MSG, and then I want a square bracket and the index value to be here. So that's why I have written the print statement in this way, and I'm incrementing the index value. So once it reaches to the end of the string, it will actually stop. The for loop will stop and come to the immediate next statement. There is no next statement, so it will stop. Okay, the program will stop executing. So this is how you will be accessing a string. Okay. Another example for accessing the elements of characters of a string is like I can directly give the index value. This is the beauty of an array, right? So if you see the concept of an array, okay, so you can array supports random access or sequential access. Can I get an answer for this, girls?
Sequential.
Array supports sequential access or random access?
Sequential access.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely wrong. Okay. So array do not support sequential access. You can directly access an element of an array by using the index number. You can say in case if I'm having elements like 1, 2, 3, and 4, I can say I can directly access the elements or element 3 by giving the index number. As if I say this is an array A, I can say A of 2. Okay. So when I say A of 2, I can directly access the element of an array directly. So this is what is called as random access. You're talking about the storage. Storage is in sequential and contiguous manner. So this is what you'll be learning in data structures, and in I hope like you might have learned in C, but you forgot it. This is very important concept, and access is different from storage. Accessing is different from storage. I hope everybody got this point. Storage is different from access. Okay. Array, obviously the elements that are stored are in contiguous manner. Because the elements are stored in contiguous manner, it is very easy for you to actually give a random access. Because array supports random access, there are many things that you can do. You can apply there are many places where you can apply array concept because it supports random access. Okay, so in the similar way, you can actually extract any of the element from any of the character from the string. So I can simply say MSG5. So what it will do is it will extract, because the number index numbers are from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So n will be extracted. So MSG5 will give me an n over here. Okay, and why I have written this program is to show you that I can also use expressions inside calculating your index. Okay, so the index will be calculated. First, the expression will be evaluated. So it will be 1 into 2, 2 plus 2, which is 4. So 4 is O. So O will be printed. I just wanted to show you this is absolutely right. You can also, this is valid. Okay, so this kind of giving expressions inside inside the index place is valid. Okay, the third case is where I have given MSG6. Okay, so wherein I want to access the sixth element from the string. The sixth element is not there. So this is index error. So in the error that I have shown you in the previous case where I try to concatenate a string and a integer, I'm getting a type error. But when I try to access an array, when I try to access a string, which is a character in a string, which is not in the range of the string, then I'll get index error. Okay, so knowing the names of the errors is very, very important over here, because you'll get that as MCQs, and also they'll ask you in the interviews, because that will show the strength of your knowledge in the programming language. Okay, so this is an index error. So it's very easy also, because the concepts that we are studying are related to the concept itself. Okay, so here we are talking about out of range of out of range of an index. So the error is also an index error. Okay, right. So I have everybody. So since it's an interpreter, it executes line by line. So it gives the output for the first line and the second line and the third line. Okay, so but it won't give me the output for the last line, and it is showing me an error over here. It's saying string index out of range. Okay, right. So this is another program wherein I am trying to put single quotes. Okay, so it should be an integer. So this is not valid. You cannot put single quotes to access the index value of a string. Okay, so it should be an integer. So message will be taking, I mean, in any of this. Okay, so any of the string. So the index is only integer. So you cannot put a character over there. Okay, so when I say 0, when I put it in single quotes, it gets converted into character. Anyway, in Python, everything is a string. It is converted into a string. So you cannot have a string for the index value. Okay, so the next concept is raw string literal. Okay, so what does it mean is, like, you can directly get to the example. So whenever raw string literal is represented with an R over here, so before the print statement, if I just put R, what happens is it will not include any of the formatting special way. Okay, so for example, I have put escape sequence over here /n. So it won't be considering /n. Raw means what? I mean, without refining it. Okay, so without refining it or without modifying it, whatever it is there, you are just showing that. Okay, so what will happen is inside the output, it will also show the new line for me. Whatever is there inside this, including the escape sequences. Okay, so it will not process the escape sequences in the special way. Generally, whenever it says a backslash, it is considered to be an escape sequence. So the escape sequences are generally not print. They are not printable characters. So the other word for the escape sequence is that they are not non-printable characters. So you won't be finding them on the monitor. You won't be finding them on the screen, but you'll be seeing their effect. Okay, so that's what is called as printable character, non-printable characters. So escape sequences are that. So whenever you give /n, it means that it should appear in the new line. Okay, but if you are giving an R over here, it means that just print the raw string. Okay, so whatever is there in this double quotes, just print it. That's the meaning of this raw string literal. Okay, so we are prefixing an R, and don't put this R in the double quotes. Just put it outside this double quotes. Okay, so whenever it sees this R in the print statement, it will understand that it just have to print whatever is there in the double quotes. Okay, so this is a raw string literal. And the next concept is string delete. Okay, so how can you delete a string? By using the del operator. Okay, so del keyword. So del is a keyword. Okay, so by using the del keyword. So I have a string over here which is saying s1 is equal to hello. Then I printed the string. Okay, so hello is printed on the screen. In the next statement, what I did is I deleted s1. And then I'm trying to print s1. Okay, so now it is not there in the memory. So when I try to print it, I'm getting a name error. Okay, so here I have shown you three kinds of errors, and I showed you three types of errors with different names. The first one is a type error, and the next one is the index error, and now I'm showing the name error. Okay, so when some variable, you're trying to access a variable which is not defined at all, then you'll get the name error. Okay, right. So this is how, because the object s1 is an object, everything is an object here in Python. So s1 is an object, and the object is no more existing in the memory. And when you try to access such kind of objects, you'll get name error. Okay, so next one is string formatting operator. So you have seen this concept in your C programming, wherein we'll say type conversion, right? You'll write a scanf statement and then you do some type conversions whenever you want to read a variable which is an integer I. Okay, so say I is an integer. So the conversion specification of integer, you call that as conversion specification or conversion format. Okay, so in C programming, and the associated string is %d. Okay, so format string is %d. And if you want a float value to be accessed, then you say %f, a string, then %s and all that. So here you can also use them in your print statement. So I said the percent operator takes a format string %d, %s, etc. on the left and the corresponding values in the tuple on the right. Okay, so this is the syntax. So I'm having the format and then percentage and followed by the values. You'll understand this when I put it in the program. Okay, so so these are all the string formatting operators. So in the examination, if they ask you to give examples of the formatting operator, so this is the table that you have to produce in the examination. Okay, so percentage is C for character. So you can associate this with the concepts that you have learned in the C programming, the same concepts. Okay, nothing new. Okay, so then %d and %i. Okay, so which is used to represent signed decimal integers. Okay, so everything unsigned and signed both comes under this category. So whenever I say signed decimal, it means that. Okay, so %s, which is for the string, and %u, which is for unsigned decimal integers like addresses and all that comes under the category of unsigned decimal integers. So to print that, you'll be using %u. And this is %o for octal, and %x and capital X and lowercase x you can use for hexadecimal integers. %e and small e and capital E you can use for exponential notations. A %f for floating point numbers, and %g for short numbers in floating point or exponential notations. Okay, so these are all the conversion specifications of the string formatting operators. Now, how to put it in a program? Okay, but here I just wanted to show you the address of this particular object. Okay, so the address of the object generally will be, it's an unsigned decimal values. So you just want to show it with %u. And to extract the address, I will be using this ID function. So inside this ID function, I'm passing the variable. Okay, so whatever variable I pass here, so I'll be retrieving the address of this particular age. Okay, so address is the memory location where age is stored. Okay, so address is nothing but the memory location. It said this particular age object is stored. Okay, so that ID is retrieved. So if you want the address to be printed on the screen, you'll be using %u. Okay, so if I simply say age, I'll be getting 20 only. But here I have tried to print the address of the object. Okay, I can also simply say ID of age. I'll get this. Okay, so to show you the format operator, I have given this. Okay, and so other examples are like how to use S and all that. I can use this kind of formatting in the print statements to actually use %s and %d and all that. So I said name is equal to swec and age is equal to 20, and I have some CGPA. So, and then I'm saying name is equal to %s. This is how you write it in your C programming, the same way I'm writing. Okay, age is equal to %d and CGP is equal to %f. But what you'll do in C programming is you'll just put a comma and then put all the list of the values. But here the syntax is different. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll put a percentage, and then since there is more than one value here to be printed, so you'll put some parentheses and list out all the variable names. Okay, all the identifiers. So the identifiers, the first identifier is name, second identifier is age, and you should not jumble them. You should not put age, name, and CGPA. Then that is an error. Okay, right? The sequence first is name, Gabati. You should be putting only name over here, then age and CGPA. And so this is the first print statement, which is actually printing, taking the values from the identifiers from the variables and printing. So in the first output, I'll be getting swec age is equal to 20 and the CGPA is 9.3. But in the second example, what I did is, rather than giving the variable names, I have associated it with the values directly. So even this way you can do it. It's valid. It's valid in Python. So it will take CSE for name, and it will take 22 for age and 5.8 for the CGPA. Okay. So you can also replace. Okay. So okay, so that's what I explained you. Okay, so the name is replaced with some string over here, and the age is replaced with some integer value here, and CGPA is replaced by some floating value over here. Okay, right. This is valid. I just wanted to tell you that this is valid. And see here, girls, first thing is I have name, and the next I have integer. The first thing is a string and the second one is an integer. Now, when I try to format it, I have jumbled the variables. First, I have given age and second, I have given name. But both are integers, then godo ledu. If both are integers, then it will not show you an error because the first one is percentage s, the conversion is not matching over here. So first one is a string. So it's expecting a string identifier over here, but you are giving an integer identifier. So it is giving an error, which is type error. Okay, so it's saying percentage %d format, a number is required, not string. Okay, so the errors are also, the description of the errors is also given so that it will be easy for you to debug your program. Okay, so the next concept is built-in string methods and functions. So here in Python, everything is a object. Okay, so what's the difference between a method and a function? Okay, so a method is like a function. The only difference is that method is invoked on an object. First example, here itself, you'll understand what's the difference between a method and a function. So here in the first example, str is the string and upper is the method. Why I'm saying upper is the method? Because I said I am calling it in an object. Okay, so I'm invoking it on an object. So I said str dot upper. Okay, so str is an object. So this is what is called as invoking on an object. So I said str dot upper. Okay, so whenever I say this, it means that it's a method. Okay, fine. So what is this method? This is an upper method. So I'm saying s is equal to cnu. So I gave the letters in cnu to be in lowercase. And in the next print statement, I'm saying s dot upper. So what will happen is all the characters in this particular string will be converted to uppercase. So this will be the output. Okay, so now we'll see almost 33 or 34 kind of string methods here. So commonly used string methods. These methods, please do not neglect this concept because these methods, because for the placements and all, they'll give you questions wherein you can actually solve the problems if you know these methods. Okay, so the reason why many students will not be able to solve the problem is because they don't have this idea of what are common methods. So when you have this, because methods are, these are all the built-in methods, so you can just use them to actually achieve certain parts, certain logics inside your program. Now coming to the first one, which is capitalize. So this function is used to capitalize the first letter of a string. Okay, so to capitalize the first letter of a string. So I just said s is equal to cnu, and don't worry that it's not very specific that you say method and function. Okay, so both are used interchangeably. Okay, so method, function, and method, they are used interchangeably. You can say a method to be a function and a function to be a method in a general way. Okay, so I said s is equal to cnu, and I said s dot capitalize in the print statement. So what happened is the first letter of the strings s cnu has been capitalized. So I hope you can see that on the screen. Yes, girls, are you following me? Are you girls with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, right. You're following, right? You're following all the concepts?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, now coming to the second method. So second method is center, and I'm saying width and then fill character. Okay. So what happens is you can just look into this. It returns a string with original string centered to a total of width columns and filled with fill character in columns that do not have characters. So I have given a string which is s is equal to cnu. Then I have used this method. I call this method on this particular object which is s. So I said s dot center and I said 11. What is 11? 11 is the number of characters. Just look into the output. So what happens is like 11 columns will be reserved and the string will be printed in the center of this particular 11 characters. Okay, since the number of characters that I have given here are 5, so 5 characters are centered in this particular 11 characters. Now, what are the characters that are left out? The rest of the characters are 3 characters in the beginning and 3 characters at the end. Now I'm saying fill character. Now, what is this fill character? Fill character will fill the character that I have given here in the rest of the characters where there is no character at all. Okay, so I said fill it with asterisks. You can give whatever you want. You can give spaces, you can give comma, you can give any dollar, anything over here. So I have given asterisk, so it will fill it. Okay, so center is a method which will actually put the string that you are specifying in the center of the width that you mentioned. So here I have mentioned width to be 11, so it is putting it in the center. Okay, right. And the next method is count method. Okay, so count method is taking 3 arguments over here. The first argument is the string itself, and the second is the begin and end. Okay, I just wanted to count. Now I'm saying the number of occurrences. So count the number of times str occurs. So here inside I have given str. So I just wanted to count the number of occurrences of str in the string. Okay, so in the string, you can specify beginning as 0 and end of length of message to search entire string, or use any other value to search a part of the string. Okay, so that's why to represent this concept, I have given 2 examples over here. The first example is I want to search HE in this particular string. Okay, so the string that I want to search is HE in the string, this particular S1. Okay, so S is the string that I want to search. S1 is the given string. Okay, so I want to search S whether it is appearing in S1 or not. And the count method will give the number of occurrences of HE in this particular string. So how do I give it in the program? Okay, so I say this is the syntax, how I give it. So I said S1 dot count. Okay, this is the string on which I want to apply this. So I said S1 dot count, and then S is the string that I want to search. From where I want to search? I want to search from the first character, and I want to search till the last character. So how I'm giving the last character? I can give the last character as the index number, or in case if the string is very long, how can you count all the characters? So there is a len function. Okay, so this is also another method. Okay, so commonly used string method is also the len method. So when I say len of S1, it will give the last character of the string. Okay, so the length of the character of the string. Okay, so now the occurrences of HE. So this is the first occurrence, and this is the second occurrence, and this is the third occurrence, because I'm searching the entire string. So how many occurrences of HE are found? 3 occurrences are found. So it is giving 3. Okay. Now coming to the second example, I want to search a part of the string. Okay. And I have given here, and I have given the range. Okay, so I want to search it from the second character. So what is the second index number? Okay, 2 is the index number. So S1 of 2 is nothing but L over here. From L, I want to search till 15. Okay, so till 15 will come somewhere over here. Okay, so what happened? So I am searching it, and there is only one occurrence of HE. So it is giving 1 over here in the output. Okay, so this is how you search the entire string as well as searching one part of the string. Okay, so the next method is ends with. Okay, so if you want to find out, okay, so it checks if string ends with some suffix. Okay, so if so, it returns true, otherwise it returns false. So the outcome of this ends with is a Boolean value, either true or false. Okay, and there are 3 parameters inside this ends with. The first parameter is the suffix. Okay, and the next one is the range. Okay, right. So this is the string. Okay, so the string is hello girls, welcome to Python class. And then I'm applying this ends with on the string S. So S1. So I'll say S1 dot ends with. So this is the syntax. I hope everybody is making a note of it. And then I'm giving the suffix that I want to search. Okay. And then I am giving the range. Okay. So I'm saying the range is from 0 to length S1. Okay, suffix is something which appears at the end of the string. Okay, so I'm saying I'm asking it to search whether class is there at the end of the string. Okay, prefix is something which comes in the beginning. Okay, so suffix is something which appears at the end of the string. So class is appearing at the end of the string. So it found class at the end of the string. So what it will do, it will return a true for me over here. Okay, right. And I'm trying to search whether IR is there. Okay, but here what I did, I have mentioned a part of the string. I have mentioned a part of the string. Okay, so the part of the string is from the 2, okay, till 9. Okay, so this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so 9 means 9 minus 1, right? So that's the range. Okay, so it is still R. So now I'm saying, so the string that I want to search is from this part till this part. Okay, right. So the string I am searching is LL, O, space and GIR. Okay, so this is what I want to search. Okay, right. So this is the string I want to search because I gave the range to be from 2 to 9. Now I want to search whether IR is there at the end of the string. Yes, IR is there. So what it will do, it will give true for me because the outcome of ends with is a Boolean value true or false. If it finds the suffix, it will say true, else it returns false. And now I want to search Python whether it is there in this particular string or not. Okay, so in this particular range, yes, Python is not there. So what it will do, it will print a false for me. So this is ends with. Okay, another commonly used string method is starts with. It's a similar to ends with, but here we are checking for some prefix. Okay, so if the prefix is found, it returns true, else it returns false for me. Okay, right. So this is a string that I want to search, and I want to search hello whether it is there in the as the first word. You can search for character also. You can search for the string also. Okay, you can explore this particular methods in the online. Editor. Okay, so you can open your online compiler and do an experimentation with the examples that I'm giving you. Okay, right. You can also give a character. Okay, right. And since hello appears as the prefix of this particular entire string, it is returning true for me. Okay, and I want to search in a part of the string. Yes, exclamation is there in the part of the string. I am searching it from 11th character to the last. Okay, so S exclamation is there, so it is returning a true. I just wanted to show you that even you can give one character and that character can be exclamation or comma or anything it can be. Okay, and the next one is like I want to search from I want to search the entire string whether hi is as the prefix. Okay, so hi is not there, so it will just say that it is false. Okay, right. This is starts with. And the next method is find method. Okay, so this is the most useful method for you. Okay, so find method will take the string and also the range over here. Okay, and what it will return, it checks if str is present in the string. If found, it returns the position. Okay, girls, it is returning the position, okay, at which str occurs in the string. Otherwise it returns -1. Okay, so what does it mean by -1? -1 means that not found. Okay, so any search operation or any find operation will have two outcomes. The first outcome is like it found it, then it will return the position, and if it is not finding it, it will return -1. This is what you will be writing. I think in your data structures you might have come to the search operations. Search operations, there are three search operations, right? The first one is linear search, second one is binary search, and the third one is Fibonacci search. I think in the linear search, yeah, the outcome of any search operation is like you find the element or you don't find the element, right? So this is what you'll be writing. Okay, so if you find the element, you will be returning the position where exactly you found the element, and there can be multiple elements also in the linear search. Okay, so it will just return the first occurrence where it has found. Okay, so that's what it will do here. So I have s1 dot find. So I'm using this on the string s1. So I want to find whether girls is there. Okay, so and this is the range. So what it will do, it is saying that it found girls at the 6th position. Okay, so first character where it has occurred, so that position it is giving. Okay, so this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is space, and this is G is at sixth position. So it is written in sixth position. Okay, so from that, you can also give a character if you want to just find out, and it will give the first occurrence of the string. Okay, right. And the next one is I want to search it from the end. Okay, no, I want to search it in a particular range. Okay, so I'm saying the range is over here. So the range is like 4 to 7. Okay, so from 4 to 7, girls is not there. G might be there, but girls is not there. Okay, so what it will do, it will say -1, which is which need to be interpreted or understood that the string is not found in the range. Okay, so the next method is index method. So this index method is taking 3 arguments. The first one is str, then beginning and end. Okay, so it's same as find, but raises an exception if str is not found. Okay, so what's the difference between find and index is both are for the same purpose. Okay, so both are for the same purpose. In the find, what it will do is it will return -1 if it is not finding the element. But what index will do is it will throw an error. Okay, so that's the only difference between find and index. Okay, right. So you can observe that I have taken a string, and then what I did, I want to find out whether girls is there in this particular range. But here I have given index. Okay, so rather than giving find, I have given index. But you can find out that the same output I got. That's what I'm telling you, index and find are same. But when I try to find girls, okay, so see here I said s1 dot index. When I try to find girls in a particular range, okay, so in find it has given -1, but what it is giving over here, it is giving a value error. So it is giving value error. See, many kinds of errors we are seeing from the beginning of this class. We are seeing type error, we have seen value error, we have seen index error, and many kinds of errors we are seeing. Okay, right. So it's giving a value error, which means that substring not found. Okay, right. So is the concept clear, girls? Is the difference between index and find clear to everybody in the class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So now the next method is rfind. Okay. So rfind, it is same as find, but start searching from the end. Okay. R represents the right. Okay. So R represents right. Okay. So I want to search whether hello is there in the string s1. So this is how I give it in programming. So I say s1 dot rfind, and this is the range that I have given. Okay. So what it is doing, it is searching from the end. Okay, so if you are using it, if you are using find, what it will do is it will give a 0 for you. Okay, but here since I want to search it from the end, okay, so H is at the 13th position. So what it will do, it will return this hello's position, index number. Okay, so rfind is that. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now coming to the other one wherein I said apple. Okay, so I want to find whether apple is there in the string, and from the end it will start searching for the string. Okay, so since apple is not found, so what it will do, it will return -1 for me. So rfind will give me the index. If it is finding the string, it will start searching the string from the end. If it finds the string, it will give the index or position of the string, else it will give -1. Okay, so this is rfind. Now we also have R index. Okay, so the R index is similar to R find, but the thing is rather than giving -1, it will give an error. Okay, so if it didn't find, it will give an error. Okay, so I said s1 dot R index, and I want to find hello in the entire string. So it will start searching from the end as it found hello at position 13. So it is giving the position over here. Okay. But what it will do, if I try to search, I'm trying to search girls in the string. So girls is not found. So in R find, what it will do, it will give -1 for me. But here it is giving the error, and the name of the error is value error, and it's saying the substring that you want to search is not found. Okay, right. So the next one is alphanumerical. Okay, so it means this. Okay, now so it's a very simple method. So what it is doing, it returns true. Okay, so the outcome of is alphanumerical is also true or false. So it returns true if the string has at least one character and every character is either a number or alphabet. Okay, so alphanumerical. AL means alphabet. Okay, num means numbers. So it can have is means checking whether it is alphanumerical or not. Okay, and returns false otherwise. So I have taken a string over here which is having the combination of characters and also digits. So I'm applying is all num on S1. Okay, so I'm saying S1 dot is all num. So since it is having only characters and also digits, it will return a true for me. Okay, so this is the outcome that I get. Now in the next case, I have used an exclamation over here. So which is not in the set of alphabet and also it's not in a digit. Okay, so what will happen is all num will return a false for me. Okay, so this is the outcome of this. Okay, so the next one is wherein I'm searching whether it is only alphabet. Okay, so it should contain only characters from the alphabet, only the letters from the alphabet. Okay, from A to Z, capital A to Z or lower A to Z. But other than that, if anything is there, it will return false for me. So here I said hello Sinu and then I said S1 dot is alpha. So all are characters, so it is returning a true for me. In the next case, I have included some digits over here. I said hello Sinu 007. So it is saying I'm checking is alpha. So it is giving a false for me. Okay, because there are digits over here. So alphanumerical will check for both digits and also for characters. Alpha will check only for the characters. Okay, so this is another specialized uh, method which will check only for digits. Okay, so it will return true if there are only digits in the string, else it will return false. So in the first example, I have given 007. So it is all are digits. So it is returning a true for me over here. And just observe how I'm giving the method. So I'm saying S1 dot is digit. Okay, so it is not having any arguments. So the thing is like you need to learn what it is returning as well as the number of arguments and how you need to put it in the program. So there are three things that you need to learn whenever I am showing you a method over here. What is the first thing that you need to learn? You need to learn what it is returning. Okay, so what's the return type of it? And the second thing that you need to learn is what? What are the arguments inside the method? And the third thing that you need to learn is how to give it in program. Okay, so these are the three things that you need to learn. I hope everybody is doing that. Okay, and the next method over here is I'm saying hello Sinu, but I have included characters also here. But I want to check whether there are only digits in this particular string. Oh, no, there are characters also. So what it will do, it will return a false for me. Okay.